Good evening and welcome to NewsNight. Tonight we'll have all your international, national, and local news. I'm Alyssa Mandarak.
And I'm Leslie Krebs. Get updates on the California fire raging in the LA area and what inmates are doing to help.
Also, hear about the protests sparking in Europe after an unenthusiastic election. Plus, breaking news in the Israel-Hamas war.
All this and more coming up on NewsNight. Before we begin, here's this week's breaking news. A possible ceasefire agreement is in the works that could put an end to the conflict in the Middle East. Officials say that the group Hamas has accepted a draft agreement for a ceasefire in the Gaza Strip and the return of 33 hostages in exchange for Palestinian prisoners. U.S. officials said to AP News that this is the closest they have been to an agreement and are hopeful that this will bring the 15-month-long conflict to an end. The proposed agreement would happen in 3 phases, with the first being a release of hostages and a pause in Israeli military action to allow for more aid into Gaza over the course of 42 days. The second phase will be debated on during the first phase, but would ideally be a complete release of all hostages and a withdrawal of all Israeli forces from Gaza. The final stage details a return of the bodies of deceased hostages and a reconstruction plan for the Gaza Strip. The agreement does require approval from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's cabinet, but a decision is expected to come soon due to President Trump's impending inauguration. NewsNight will keep you updated as this agreement unfolds. Now here's your latest international news.
Thanks, Leslie. The erasure of Tibetan culture is at risk as over 1 million children are placed in Chinese boarding schools. With a goal to form good citizens of the Chinese Communist Party, the culture that these children would otherwise experience is actively forgone. While the government claims this is a voluntary decision for the parents to make, there are parents who would disagree and say that they had no other option. Human rights expert Fernande Varen says, quote, "One can hardly speak of any choice if local schools are all closed down," end quote. An estimate of 80% of Tibetan children are now taught in these schools. Limiting the ability for parental visits, exclusively Mandarin-spoken education, and control over subject matter is raising a generation that will further align with Chinese ideals over their original culture. In order to build a larger network of Chinese nationalism, these children are taught their own language as if it's a foreign entity and not their identity. In these schools, students are not only crowded together, but they are often subject to beatings and a lack of empathy by faculty. Abuse and neglect paired with the absence of family relations causes major concern in their development. While Tibet is not an internationally recognized as an independent state, they are known for commonly disregarding the ideals of Beijing as they have their own language, mountainous region, and largely Buddhist faith system. Refusal to assimilate to the majority of the People's Republic of China has created government fascination to force the assimilation of these children. Chinese boarding schools have existed for more than 40 years, but 15 years ago, village schools faced shutdowns from the government, so that there truly was no other option.
Concerns have begun arising regarding the rising cases of the human metapneumovirus in northern China and globally. Along with rising cases, concerns for another pandemic have arisen, with mask mandates beginning to appear in several states. These concerns all began when images of overrun hospitals in northern China began to spread online. Rather on Sunday, though, health officials reported lowering cases of HPMV in northern China, alongside the WHO reporting no unusual outbreaks in China and other countries. The number of patients in hospital ERs with fevers has risen, but is still lower compared to last year's reported cases. Hospitals in China also have not experienced any medical resource shortages, though it was speculated. The HMPV virus is not new. It has been found since the early 2000s, with better detection making the virus seem more prevalent. Health officials also report no new infectious diseases have been found, only known pathogens. Unlike COVID-19, many have built an immunity to HMPV from it being around for many years. Officials report the flu-like infections to begin decreasing by the end of the month. Officials also state there is no vaccine or medicine to prevent infections, rather to continue regular hand washing and wearing masks in public to prevent sickness.
Thousands of protesters took to the streets of Romania's capital city, Bucharest, this past Sunday to protest the annulment of their presidential election. The Constitutional Court decided last month to annul the presidential election results after outside and far-right politician Călin Georgescu won the first round. This decision comes after the current president, Klaus Iohannis, released information alleging that the candidate used thousands of social media accounts run by Russian organizations to promote him across platforms like TikTok and Telegram. The court decided that the candidate had perceived, quote, preferential treatment on social media, which had interfered with the results. According to AP News, protesters were seen marching, honking their horns, and waving Romania's flag while chanting slogans such as, quote, democracy is not optional, end quote. New dates have been set for a vote on May 4th, with the current runoff date set on May 18th if needed.
Ukrainian President Zelensky offered an exchange of 2 captured North Korean soldiers for the Ukrainian prisoners of war within Russia. Zelensky took to social media and wrote, quote, for those North Korean soldiers who do not wish to return, there may be other options available. Those who express a desire to bring peace closer by spreading the truth about this war in Korea will be given that opportunity, end quote. This comes after intelligence services found that both soldiers were issued fraudulent and/or no identification by Russian forces, with one claiming he was there for training. As of now, the exchange offer has not been accepted, and Zelensky certifies that North Korean soldiers are aiding Russia. After the break, learn about the blazing fires overtaking LA and the steps some government officials are taking before Trump's inauguration. Don't go away.
Last Tuesday, fire has spread rampantly and uncontrollably across regions of Los Angeles. Between the Palisades, Eaton, and Hearst fires, more than 13,000 structures have been destroyed. Over 37 acres of land have been burned, and at least 24 people have been found dead. Fire weather in the region is not an uncommon occurrence. However, this year conditions appear to be so much more brutal as they have received less than 10% of average precipitation in the last 3 months, and winds have reached speeds of 70 miles per hour. Strong wind reports have been forecasted for Monday night, which could severely worsen the blazes that are majorly uncontained. People in the area have been placed under curfew from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. to promote safety and to discourage burglary and looting. Residents in the area have been placed under evacuation orders and have received warnings to use air purifiers indoors and to wear masks and respirators when outside. The Palisades fire has claimed the lives of 8 people and began in the Pacific Palisades east of Malibu and is 14% contained. The Eaton fire began on Tuesday night and lit near a canyon north of downtown LA. This fire is 33% contained, and it has been reported that it has caused 16 deaths. It is predicted that over $50 billion in economic losses will be reached, and the insured losses might cross the $20 billion threshold. Firefighters are struggling, more recruitments are needed for aid, and many organizations are holding drives for clothing and necessities as residents recover from this worsening tragedy.
Staying on the subject, thousands of firefighters are battling the Southern California wildfires with aid from a controversial California law allowing more than 900 incarcerated people to join the efforts against this natural disaster. This practice, beginning in California as early as 1915, has been used to aid in response to natural disasters and emergencies, often filling a gap in the need for emergency responders. The program is available for all incarcerated people, once deemed physically and mentally fit, to teach them firefighting and first aid skills with additional community service in between. The volunteers are paid between $5 and $10 per day. According to NPR, with additional payment for emergencies and insinuating circumstances, while it does give incarcerated people a chance to learn useful skills and open up a potential career field, the controversy is found in California's labor requirements for prisoners and the lack of opportunities for these individuals post-release. Similar to many prison systems across the U.S., inmates are required to work with incarcerated labor nationwide, provides more than $9 billion in services for prison maintenance, according to a report from the ACLU and University of Chicago's Global Human Rights Clinic. Additionally, many individuals are denied job opportunities post-release due to the lack of proper certifications. Despite the controversy, hundreds of inmates continue to put their life on the line to stop the spread of these fires. Stick with NewsNight for updates on this dire situation. Donald Trump's inauguration is on the horizon, and Republicans and Democrats alike are preparing for a Trump presidency. And before Joe Biden leaves office, one governor is calling against a Carter tribute during Trump's commencement. Reporter Ruthie Light has the scoop. Ruthie?
Thanks, Leslie. Texas Governor Greg Abbott recently called for the state to defy President Joe Biden's orders to fly the U.S. flag at half-staff on President-elect Donald Trump's inauguration day. Following the passing of the late former President Jimmy Carter, President Biden ordered that all 29 flags be flown at half-staff in honor and tribute for a 30-day period following Carter's death on December 29th. Coincidentally, this 30-day period happens to overlap with the inauguration of President-elect Donald Trump. Because of this, Governor Abbott insists on breaking the tribute to fly flags at full staff over the state capitals as Trump takes the oath of office in celebration of the incoming president and the future of America, despite the current sitting president's wishes. Regarding the matter, Governor Abbott stated, quote, "While we honor the service of a former president, we must also celebrate the service of an incoming president and the bright future ahead of the United States of America," end quote. The governor's order does not include buildings or military installations in Texas and beyond, where flags remain at half-staff. Unsurprisingly, Governor Abbott is not the only American who disagrees with Biden's 30-day-long tribute. Republicans, as well as incoming President-elect Donald Trump, have conspiracized that the 30-day tribute was calculated to purposefully interfere with the presidential inauguration. Despite publicly mourning former President Carter's death, Donald Trump complained about the flags being lowered during his time being sworn into the Oval Office. Trump explained that Democrats were, quote, "giddy" at the fact that the flags would be flown at half-staff. He also took to social media to say, quote, "Nobody wants to see this. No American can be happy about this. Let's see how it plays out. Make America great again," end quote. PA Senator John Fetterman agreed to meet with incumbent President Donald Trump, and their meeting might be the start of a budding political relationship. Being the first Senate Democrat to meet with Trump, Fetterman expressed his responsibility, stating, quote, "I'm a senator for all Pennsylvanians, not just Democrats. I will meet with and have a conversation with anyone if it helps me deliver for Pennsylvania and the nation," end quote. While the details of their conversation are not public, Trump praised Fetterman for being a beautiful, quote, "common-sense person that's not liberal or conservative." They also touched base on the possible success tariffs could have on U.S. steel and the national security benefits of border control and acquiring Greenland would have. Fetterman's meeting could pave the way for other Democratic government officials to bridge the gap between them and the upcoming Trump administration.
Donald Trump has now become the first former president to become criminally convicted. Trump received his sentence on Friday in a Manhattan courtroom with Judge Juan Merchan overseeing the case. Back in March of 2023, Trump received 34 counts of falsifying business records to cover up a $130,000 payment to porn star Stormy Daniels for her silence on a sexual encounter with Trump before the 2016 election, which Trump denies. Trump was ultimately found guilty of all 34 counts. This is the only case to make it to trial out of the two others, which included attempting to overturn the 2020 election and retaining classified documents after leaving the White House, which Trump still denies. After being found guilty, Trump accused his opponents of attempting to, quote, weaponize the justice system, end quote. At Trump's final sentencing, Judge Merchan gave what he called, quote, the only lawful sentence, end quote, that being unconditional discharge, ultimately no punishment or jail time for Trump's actions. This was a result of the U.S. Constitution shielding presidents from criminal prosecution. Merchan remarked, quote, despite the extraordinary breadth of those protections, one power they do not provide is the power to erase jury verdicts, end quote. Merchan also remarked that Trump would have received a larger punishment as a private citizen. The legal protections of his presidency ultimately left Merchan with no other decision. Assistant Manhattan DA Joshua Steinglass, regarding Trump's conviction, said, quote, instead of preserving, protecting, and defending our constitutionally established system of criminal justice, the defendant, the once and future president of the United States, has engaged in a coordinated campaign to undermine its legitimacy, end quote. Trump ultimately pleaded not guilty and is looking to appeal. This decision could take years to move through the court system and continue throughout his presidency. Coming up after the break, an RV show is revving up in downtown PGH, and Pittsburgh has been hit with snowy weather and supplies are on rocks, or better yet, lacking them. Stay tuned.
The recent East Coast winter storms have affected the Pittsburgh region for more than a week now, and with these building snowy conditions, reports of a low salt supply and broken equipment are creating a question of safety and accessibility. City officials have contradicted these reports. The mayor's office has said, quote, that is a misinformation placed out on social media. The city is safe. The city is ready to respond with the proper salt, end quote. Despite this claim, it has been found that they have received a type of salt that is not effective in temperatures below 17 degrees, and they have decreased the number of trucks deployed at night. Department of Public Works sources have also released photos of broken equipment. On Friday night, it was reported that 40 trucks would be deployed, even though 60 has been the standard for past snow events. On Saturday, areas of downtown and specifically Point Park's campus were highly untreated with snow and sleet blanketing the whole sidewalks and roads. Accessibility concerns should be addressed as there are many people who rely on clear spaces in order to walk and maneuver mobility devices. In the coming days, it will be important to increase safety and awareness as temperatures are forecasted to drop below that 17-degree mark, with a predictive low of -2 degrees next Wednesday. While claims of salt shortages arrive every year and amid the winter seasons are not always true, it is imperative to drive cautiously and to watch your step when walking in areas that have not been treated to the full extent.
Kennywood plans to get rid of its famous attraction, Thomastown, after it has been at the park for the past 6 years. The area plans to be updated with, quote, an updated thematic area complete with 5 rides, end quote. Kennywood says the rides will be not only for children, but for families and adults alike. Thomastown first made its debut in July of 2018. WTAE reports it included 5 rides, a train ride with Thomas, a live stage show area, play and entertainment areas, as well as a retail store. According to Kennywood's website, Thomastown was, quote, the largest permanent Thomas and Friends attraction in North America, end quote, as well as one of the, quote, largest single-year additions in Kennywood's 120-year history, end quote. One of Kennywood's spokespeople, Lindsay Winters, said, quote, we are thankful for the collaboration with the Thomas and Friend brand and Mattel and looking forward to future opportunities for collaboration, end quote. Kennywood reports more details on the new area and its rides and attractions will be announced in the near future. A Jewish community center has a new update that values inclusivity. Hear about what they are and their impact on the community with reporter Ruthie Light. Ruthie.
Thanks, Leslie. On Monday, the Jewish Community Center of Greater Pittsburgh announced that they are renovating a building at the Henry Kaufman Family Park in Monroeville for day camp and weekend swim club activities named The Cove. The JCC was led to act on this renovation project with the growing need for inclusive programs, especially for neurodivergent children. CEO Jason Kunzman said that the idea initially came after the COVID-19 pandemic, where they really saw the challenges children with disabilities and their families were experiencing. Rachel Speck, JCC Chief Program and Innovation Officer, said that the camp had 590 campers last summer, and the new space will allow them to grow those numbers by more than 20% in the next 3 years, because they know more children are getting diagnosed on the spectrum and there are little resources for entertainment centers that accommodate with disabled children. The new and improved facility will be better customized to meet the needs of children with food allergies and sensory sensitivities by becoming a temperature-controlled area with a community-style dining hall so that the campers no longer have to eat their lunch across the facility outside as they have done in years past. Speck spoke on the renovation plans, stating, quote, what we're really trying to do here is to serve those children and their families because those are the first to fall through the cracks, end quote. JCC Board Chair Scott Seawald added to Speck's statement, stating, quote, we're not just breaking ground here on a new building, we're building upon a 55-year legacy and preparing for future generations, end quote. Construction is expected to wrap up by June, just in time for the summer camp season.
Well, if you're looking to get away from the cold that has been looming over us, a returning event may have the answer. The Pittsburgh RV Show has returned to the David L. Lawrence Convention Center for its 68th year. Featuring everything from travel trailers to even golf carts, the show has over 12 dealers displaying hundreds of vehicles for you to think about and explore purchasing. The show is taking place now and will be open every day till the 19th. General admission price is $15.
The Pittsburgh Parking Authority may be removing the requirement for residency in the search to solve their understaffing problems. Many authorities in the Pittsburgh area do not require residency as a condition for employment, such as the Housing and Sewer Authorities, which seems to be the inspiration for this decision. The Parking Authority currently employs 22 enforcement officers and 33 garage attendants, as opposed to the 44 officers and 53 attendants required to be considered fully staffed. The Pittsburgh City Council does not have to approve this change as it does not fall under them. However, they do support a wage increase before dropping the requirement. NewsNight will keep you updated as the decision progresses. Don't go away, because after the break, we'll have your chilly Pittsburgh weather update and answer the question, is coffee really good for you? We'll be right back.
take them cue and open their mics.
They mark the 1-year anniversary of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette strike.
Point Park University just hosted a campus-wide meeting.
Plans for the rapid transit bus line are not set to conclude until 2025.
This one's for the coffee lovers. A new study suggests that your daily cup of joe may do more than wake you up in the morning. Researchers at the University of Utah found that people who drink 4 cups of coffee a day have a lower risk of developing oral, pharynx, liver, colon, prostate, endometrial cancer, and melanoma. However, it can increase your risk of lung cancer. So while more research is needed, this news gives coffee lovers a little extra reason to enjoy their morning brew. All you winter lovers have finally got the snow and cold weather you were hoping for, but how long will it last, and will it continue its below freezing temperatures? Weather reporter Juliana Brock has the report. Jules?
Thanks, Alyssa. Pittsburgh weather has not been the warmest. Actually, the opposite, as a winter storm hit Pittsburgh last week, bringing days of snow and below freezing temperatures. The walk to class has been harsh, building heating has struggled against the cold, and it seems the cold front will continue tomorrow with a low of 22 degrees with a real feel of 11. A slight increase in temperature will bring the real feel up to 14 degrees. The day will end with an outstanding feel of 5 degrees. The only positive of this weather is that there will be snow showers throughout the day, so bundle up and stay warm. Now, if we're going to take a look at this week's weather, the week will be cold, but temperatures will slowly rise above freezing day by day. Wednesday and Thursday will still be below freezing with a real feel of around 14 to 18 degrees, alongside showers of snow. Finally, on Friday and Saturday, we will see the temperature and real feel around 40 degrees with some sun and lessening winds. But don't get your hopes up that fast, because the temperature will drop back down Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, reaching all the way down to -1 degree by the 3rd day. To reiterate, please bundle up, not just for style, but for your genuine safety. Now, back to the desk.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of NewsNight. If you want to see more, check out our social media pages on both Facebook and Instagram at UView Television.
You can also check out more episodes on our YouTube channel or our website, uview.pointpark.edu. I'm Leslie Krebs.
And I'm Alyssa Mandarak. From everyone here at NewsNight, thank you for watching and have a great evening.